This is a reading from Modern Saints by Anne Ball. Chapter 41. Sister Miriam Teresa. Sister Miriam Teresa Demjanovic, S.C., born 1901, died 1927 in the United States at the age of 26. From time to time, God makes a particular truth of our faith known with special clarity to a favored soul. To Sister Miriam Teresa Demjanovic, he showed that it was his will for all, no matter what their state in life, to attain sanctity by a close union with him every day. Sister Miriam Teresa herself lived in this close union with God, although throughout her short life she presented a somewhat ordinary, if very good, appearance. Few, even those who knew her well and lived with her, suspected the depth of her spiritual life. God also gave Teresa the mission to make known to others his will of sanctity for all. Still, outside her own small circle, Sister Miriam Teresa's message might have gone to the grave with her, had God not also provided the means of spreading it. Miriam Teresa Demjanovic was the youngest of 7 children, born to Alexander and Johanna Demjanovic, immigrants from Slovakia. Teresa was born March 26, 1901, in Bayonne, New Jersey. She was baptized in an Eastern Rite Catholic church, although her family later attended a Latin Rite parish after moving to a different part of town. As a young child, Teresa was the much-loved baby of the family. She preferred boys' games, particularly baseball, and from an early age, one of her favorite pastimes was reading. Her brother Charles was her favorite playmate. Teresa remained close to Charles as she grew older. His ordination to the priesthood was an event of great joy for her. Teresa was exceptionally bright and began school at the age of 4. She entered high school at 12 and graduated before she was 16. She was valedictorian of her elementary class and graduated with honors from the public high school she attended. Although she was somewhat quiet and retiring, she enjoyed activities with the Glee Club and other youth-related programs at her parish church. Throughout these years, she was considered a good, intelligent girl with a gift for writing and a good sense of humor. None who knew her realized the depth of her interior life. For almost 2 years after she finished high school, Teresa stayed home to help with the housework and in nursing her mother, who was ill. After the death of her mother and following the wishes her mother had expressed, Teresa entered the College of St. Elizabeth. In June 1923, she received a bachelor's degree in literature with highest honors. Her college professors recalled that her ability was not confined to a single subject. She excelled in all. She was especially noted for the fact that in scholastic discussions, her remarks showed much good common sense. She made posters, played musical accompaniments, was a graceful dancer, and wrote witty verses. One of her junior jingles begins, "One night we felt that life was dull. We formed into parade. The hour was late, the hall was dim, but we were not afraid. We marched, we ran, we slid, we hid." Teresa put her utmost effort into everything she did. When her friends needed help, Teresa was always glad to provide it. She was witty, and from time to time she even indulged in a practical joke, although she always stopped such jokes before any unpleasant consequences could arise. In many ways, she seemed to be an ordinary American college student of the 20s, enjoying to the fullest the happy things of life. It was noticed, however, that she liked to spend long periods of time in the chapel. After her graduation, Teresa taught for a year at St. Aloysius Academy in Jersey City. For many years she had thought of entering a Carmelite convent, but in making a novena asking God to help her where she should go, she became convinced that he wished her to become a Sister of Charity. She entered the novitiate of the Sisters of Charity of St. Elizabeth at Convent Station, New Jersey, on February 11, 1925. Her new name was Sister Miriam Teresa. In the novitiate, Sister Miriam Teresa tried to follow the rule of her order as perfectly as possible. She was kind and helpful to the sisters, wrote and directed a play at Christmas, and lived the routine life of the novice. Novices generally did not teach, but since Sister Miriam Teresa had finished college and already had a year's experience, she was sent to teach at the academy run by the sisters. She did not enjoy teaching. In fact, she felt a great aversion to it, but did her best faithfully, as this was God's will for her. Most of her fellow novices, like Sister Miriam Teresa, enjoyed her company. One sister, Maureen Moroney, remembers several acts of special kindness which Sister Miriam Teresa performed for her. The mistress of novices had assigned Sister Maureen to read out loud at dinner. She suggested that Sister Maureen go to Sister Miriam Teresa if she needed help in preparation for the readings. In addition to this help, Sister Maureen had trouble in getting used to the proper way to fix the headpiece of her habit, and Sister Miriam Teresa went several times to her dormitory to help her fix it properly. Another time, one of the novices was scrubbing the floor. She had begun late and would be late finishing, thereby missing part of her afternoon rest, a special allowance permitted only during retreat. Soon all the other novices passed by on the way to their rooms. In a few moments one returned. It was Sister Miriam Teresa, ready to help. Small acts of charity such as these were an everyday part of her life. She wrote, if all would only make use of the ordinary duties and trials of their state in the way God intended, they would all become saints. Sister Miriam Teresa firmly believed that God yearns for the sanctification of men. The spiritual director of the novices, Father Benedict, OSB, realized that he had been given charge of a specially favored soul. Indeed, he was later to recall, though Sister Miriam Teresa had enjoyed from childhood the extraordinary privileges of many of the great mystics, such as ecstasies, raptures, visions, locutions, she carefully concealed from all the secrets of the king. It was not until she entered the novitiate that she revealed to her spiritual director the hidden privileges of her spiritual life. But despite the many such gifts she had received from God, Sister Miriam Teresa realized that sanctity consists not in visions and revelations, but rather in doing God's will at every moment. Sister's own life of obedience, humility appeared very ordinary to some. Her fidelity in all details of the rule was annoying, yet her constant submission to God's will for her, which included great physical and mental suffering, brought her to the heights of holiness. Her longing for heaven grew deeper. To her spiritual director she wrote, "Oh, Father, I'm madly in love and getting madder every minute, and what a little price has been the paying. Purgatory, a taste of perdition, and the boot of the world. But it's nothing, though it has been awful and is getting worse. God, my wonderful God, if people only knew you, they'd die on the spot. God, my very own God, slay me breath by breath, torture me body and soul as you please, but let me bring the world to your feet." After Sister Miriam Teresa's death, her spiritual director wrote, for her own sanctification, He, our Lord, permitted her to be terribly misunderstood, and this proved the heaviest cross of her life. I think this form of suffering hurts most. Father Benedict thought of a plan to spread Sister Miriam Teresa's message, and at the same time to shed more light on the workings of her soul. Part of his job was to give a conference to the sisters each week on the way they would better attain perfection. He directed Sister Miriam Teresa to write these conferences. Father Benedict would preach that Sister Miriam Teresa had written. He told her not to mention the fact that she was writing the conferences. The superior gave her permission for this arrangement, and in addition she found time for Sister to do the actual work of writing the conferences. Later, Sister Miriam Teresa wrote to Father Benedict, "I never knew what I was going to write or say, but when obedience imposed the task, he took care of everything." As the priest preached the conferences, Sister Miriam Teresa seemed to listen to them in the same way as all the other novices. No, one suspected that the words of Father Benedict had been written by Sister Miriam Teresa. Some of the sisters did speculate that perhaps the words were not Father's own, and that possibly they were from the writings of the saints, but none suspected that they had come from one of their own companions. These conferences became very popular for the down-to-earth yet deeply spiritual advice they contained. They were copied and sent to other houses of the order and later to houses of other orders. After Sister Miriam Teresa's death, the conferences were published in book form under the title Greater Perfection. This book has gone through several editions in several languages, and the path of spirituality outlined in it is becoming known worldwide. Two brief quotes from the conferences show the simple style of writing which Sister Miriam Teresa used in presenting religious truths and guidelines for the everyday life of the Christian who desires a closer union with God. On seeking a life of fullest perfection, she wrote, "To find this perfect life, you have only to keep the ways of the Lord. His way is the way of the cross, which you must shoulder daily, cheerfully, and courageously, if you wish to have realized in you the name of disciples. The way of the cross is the path of sacrifice and self-denial. Only a humble soul can walk this path securely." In writing of cooperation with grace, Sister tells us, union with God, then, is the spiritual height God calls everyone to achieve. Anyone, not only religious, but anyone who wills to seek this pearl of great price, who specializes in the traffic of eternal goods, who says yes constantly to God, the Holy Ghost. She goes on to point out that even the greatest of saints have often lived their lives in the world. Catherine of Siena, Joan of Arc, and Queen Elizabeth of Hungary, who managed a contemplative life among the bustle of a royal court. Sister Miriam Teresa first became ill in 1926, at first with tonsillitis, and later with appendicitis. Although most thought that the minor operations were successful, her brother requested and received permission for her to make her final vows, which she did. Her death came as a shock to most of the community. There is some evidence that she willingly offered her death as a sacrifice for the success of her mission, which was to help sanctify her community and all sisters living a life of active apostolate. When her body was arranged for burial, it was found that her head had assumed a somewhat strange shape. Sister Miriam Teresa's spiritual director affirmed that she had suffered the pain of the crown of thorns. Sister Miriam Teresa was buried in the community graveyard with a simple white marble cross to mark her grave. A few days later, the following notice was posted on the community bulletin board. The conferences which I have been giving to the sisters were written by Sister Miriam Teresa. It was signed by the spiritual director. The sisters were astonished. On Friday afternoon, after Sister Miriam Teresa's death, her spiritual director came to give his weekly talk to the novices. He spoke about Sister Miriam Teresa and stated that she had truly been a saint and might one day be canonized. He continued, "I know the secrets of her life, and I know that she lived entirely for God from the time she had arrived at the age of reason. She never offended God by a deliberate venial sin." After Sister Miriam Teresa's death, many of her sisters began to realize that they had been living with someone specially chosen. Prayers for Sister Miriam Teresa's intercession began to be answered. In the latter part of 1945, Rome authorized Bishop McLaughlin of the Paterson, New Jersey Diocese to institute an ordinary informative process concerning Sister Miriam Teresa's life and virtues. The official investigation began early in 1946. Sister Miriam Teresa has made many friends all over the world, and her cause is progressing. The ritual exhumation of relics required in the process was carried out on May 8, 1979, exactly 52 years after her death. This photograph of Treat, as her friends called her, shows Miriam Teresa Demjanovich shortly before she joined the Sisters of Charity in New Jersey at age 24. Above. After her death at age 26, Sister Miriam Teresa's spiritual director stated, "I know the secrets of her life, and I know that she lived entirely for God. From the time she had arrived at the age of reason, she never offended God by a deliberate venial sin. This painting is considered a good likeness of her." Opposite, left. Miriam Teresa Demjanovich was born in Bayonne, New Jersey, the youngest of 7 children. Though she seemed like an ordinary good person, her spiritual director later declared that she had received extraordinary mystical gifts from God since her childhood. Opposite, right. Sister Miriam Teresa, shortly after she entered the convent, Almost no one suspected the depth of her spiritual life. She wrote, "If all would only make use of the ordinary duties and trials of their state in the way God intended, they would all become saints."